Well, remember a couple weeks back, maybe a couple months back at this point in time, that I was going around the internet, Facebook Marketplace specifically, trying to find myself a PT Cruiser GT manual. Well, I found one. Here it is. It's been sitting in the backyard. We haven't had a chance to take it apart and examine what was going on with it. Unfortunately, now we've had time to take it apart and examine what's wrong with it. When I bought it, it had a clutch out of it. The clutch would still work, you could still engage it, it would still move forward, but the clutch had no clamping force. As soon as you got into boost, it just slipped through the clutch and there was, it was over with. So it needed a clutch. Okay, no big deal. Yeah, so that's how I thought. Oddly, there's not a lot of people that provide parts for these things. The 20-year-old, kind of hated, much maligned, although adorable and somewhat loved in certain communities, PT Cruiser GTs. These are interesting vehicles. They are 2.4-liter turbo front-wheel drive vehicles, very similar to the SRT4 Neons, except for these actually have a better transmission in them, which is the reason I bought this. They're also usually abused less than the SRT4 Neons were. So we purchased this vehicle. We have put it up on the rack. We've disassembled the thing, and now we understand just what level of screwed I am. Transmission. There she is. It seems like it's fine. It rode through all 5 gears, no big deal. However, we get into a little bit of a different situation when we start talking about the clutch of the flywheel. Let me also preface this with, this has a dual mass flywheel, which I should have realized that I needed to find parts for before I even probably bought this car. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to go there, but, well. So here's the clutch. Clutch disc is, it's not horrible, but it's all the way down to the rivets. I don't know if you can see that. You can see there, it's down to the rivets. So, yeah, clutch is smoked. However, you can start to see a little bit of the, I don't know, can you spot any of the hot spotting on that? So that guy's been slipping quite a bit on that, which sucks. But that's part of a clutch kit, no big deal. The bigger problem comes in when we look at this flywheel. Now this is a dual mass flywheel. And you could see very similar hot spotting all the way around the surface, which sucks. Now, the very limited amount of driving I did with this car up and down the road, it seemed like I didn't feel any vibrations through that. But typically speaking, you don't want to put a brand new flywheel or a brand new clutch against a burnt out flywheel. Those hot spots are going to have a problem, and it's going to usually induce some chattering, especially when it's under load. Now, the really tricky part is the fact that these flywheels are not available, not available anywhere. I have called Chrysler directly. They obviously don't sell 20-year-old flywheels for these things anymore. I have called basically everybody I know that would possibly stock one of these things, and nobody has one in stock. This is a Sachs unit. You can see there it says it has Sachs on it. 010299 is the part number. But nowhere I've been able to find actually has one of these things in stock for me to buy. The only thing I could find was like $900. And that's just for the flywheel. Which sucks. Also, these flywheels are quite heavy. I mean, there's a lot of mass to that. And that, typically speaking, is going to affect performance because you have rotational mass, and it's going to cause the motor to accelerate slower and decelerate slower. It does increase drivability, makes it easier to drive, but for performance, not the greatest option. We get into a kind of a tricky situation here because I have never had to mess with the dual mass flywheel on anything that I have owned personally. And as far as I understand it, and as far as everybody that I've spoken to, you cannot resurface the dual mass flywheel. Now maybe that's, I don't know. because it's a balancing issue. Do we hit it with some Scotch-Brite and see if we can get it to clean up a little bit? Do we hit it with a whiz wheel and see if we can clean it up a little bit? The idea is you want to remove as little material as possible, so you throw the balance out as little as possible. Problem being, you're going to remove material because you have to remove material to get rid of all of these hot spots. And normally, a normal flywheel, you would have ability to chuck it up in a lathe, and it just, you pull the studs out of it, and it just and cuts just a tiny little bit off the surface of that flywheel and resurfaces. It's like $50, and you can get it done at a couple of different machine shops. But nobody does that with dual mass flywheels. So do we get a little bit questionable and try to do it ourselves? And then we still got to put the car back together again and put my brand new clutch in it and see if it holds, see if it works. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Have you done a dual mass flywheel situation where you have resurfaced that flywheel? Or have you had one that is this badly hot spotted that you've put a clutch against and it held? This is probably going to be making about 300 horsepower or so. The clutch should hold 300. The clutch that I purchased should hold 300, but you know, I don't know. I'm in a little bit of a quandary here. I was really hoping against hope that this wasn't going to be a conversation I had to have, but that's where we are. Car was, it's a 140,000 mile car, so it's in, you know, it's not great shape, but it's decent shape. I'm not really worried about the car itself. I'm not really planning on using the car for much of anything other than this drivetrain. I just want the engine and transmission to be good. Do I just toss it together to make sure that the thing is drivable and it's not going to blow up on me the first time I try to romp on it? And then when we do take the whole front subframe out of this car to put it in the GLHS charger, then I can separate the engine and transmission again and figure something else out? I don't know. So the other option to this is, I spoke with the guys at Spec yesterday, and they are the only folks out there who have and are willing to sell me a flywheel and clutch for this car. It's not dual mass. It's an old school flywheel like a normal car, like a normal manual transmission car would have. And the clutch is designed to be able to handle somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 foot-pounds of torque or so, which would be more than enough for what I'm planning on doing. So that's an option. Unfortunately, it's also a very expensive option. I'm about, I bought this car for $700. I've got about $300 in the clutch that I've purchased that's been sitting on the floor for the last 2 months. So I probably also can't return it. The clutch and flywheel from Spec would cost me more than I have in the clutch, the car, trailering it, everything else. It's going to have about $1,500 in it, in a clutch and flywheel from them. But it would allow me to have a drivetrain that I can count on. Unfortunately, I would just need to order it and have it here shipped like immediately, because obviously the car is torn apart on the rack. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I'm really not in the mood to spend $1,500 on a car that I've got, you know, less than $1,000 in, just to put a clutch in the thing to see whether or not the engine and transmission are any good. Because if they're bad, then I just roasted that $1,500 and that's it. I'm also not in the mood to do things over and over again where we have to take the car apart, put the car back together again, wait for parts, do this all over again. Not a great thing, especially when it's, you know, I'm paying for shop time. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's the smart play here? I honestly don't know the answer to this. It's not where I wanted to be. This is not the situation I wanted to be in, but it's the situation we're in, and I am looking for advice. Would you just maybe hit it with some Scotch-Brite and see what happens, and then put that other clutch in there and send it? Or would you just bite the bullet, spend the $1,500 on a clutch and flywheel from Spec, get it here, get it put together again with some good quality components, and hope for the best? Because I don't know. I mean, this thing's been running a ton of boost. As far as I can tell, the engine seems healthy. However, the other day we did pull a little bit of oil out of it, and there may or may not have been a little bit of brass-looking sparkly bits in it. I mean, it was like glitter, but it wasn't like, you know, real bad. So, I don't know. You tell me. I'm not real good at making good financial decisions when it comes to cars. I'll be honest. Anybody who knows me will back me up on that. Anyways, guys, I need some advice. Let me know what you think. This is Automotive Adventures with Austin, my own little personal corner of the YouTube internets where I work on some of my own projects and vehicles and go on road trips and have some fun with my own toys. But unfortunately, this is probably one of those moments where it's less fun at the moment, but I would appreciate your input. Let me know what you think. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.